I'm Bernadette Hurd. I am the Benefits Strategy and Capability Manager for the HS2 programme. And although we are employed by HS2 Limited, we are tasked by the Department of Transport to make sure that the entire programme has defined benefits that are trackable and reportable, and that we will be able to demonstrate we've achieved at the end of the programme.
That sounds so easy when you say it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Not a problem. And actually, that's a nice segue into my first question, because on the one hand, HS2 is a very complex piece of railway engineering, thinking about trying to thread it into London, and then you've got the sort of complex stakeholder case as you're rumbling through a number of very scenic parts of the country. So we tend to look at it in those terms, and yet fundamentally it's about how does it transform the country and how does it transform the way that we work, which is all about benefits. So how do you begin with managing benefits on a program like that?
So fundamentally, it's no different to any other program in a way. It's back to first principles of why are we doing this, which is the starting point for all benefits management and all benefits realization, really. So we've got, you know, the original mission of the program was capacity, connectivity and growth. So yes, how do you do that? Well, we are focusing on the lasting changes that will be perceived as positive by our future customers, by the people along the line of route, both those who'll be served by the services and those who are living in areas affected by the services. And also the construction and engineering industries that whose resources we are using throughout the programme and that will be affected by it. So yeah, I guess it's about doing exactly what everybody else does, which is identifying the benefits.
Yes, yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I'd argue that identifying benefits in some ways is the easy bit, because the thing about benefits, I'm talking to the converted here, but the thing about benefits is you're dependent on the users, in this case citizens, actually behaving in a different way in order to realize those benefits. So all jumping on trains or moving to different parts of the country or changing their work patterns, whatever it may be. And that's a really difficult thing to kind of model. And I wonder how do you capture those kinds of the user behavior in the benefits maps that you're creating?
So that's partly done through making sure that your benefits reflect the business case that you're delivering. So our starting point really for identifying the benefits was, if you distilled the business case to something as simplified as possible, what would it be? And out of that, we got 7 strategic goals, which are as memorable as we can make them. So, you know, HS2 is a catalyst for growth. That's really, really important. It's something that a lot of people will recognise from seeing things in writing, on radio, on TV about HS2. We're there to deliver capacity and connectivity. That's the trains going, creating additional capacity and connecting places and people that are not currently connected. And that attracts businesses to those places and feeds that, being a catalyst for growth as well. We need to give value to the UK taxpayer. We do that partly through revenue, partly through the innovation in the programme. We want to produce a wholly different customer experience, and so we need to bake that into the design and the delivery of the programme. We're creating opportunities for jobs and skills, so that's helping to upskill the industry and also helping people on the line of route and in the places we affect with opportunities for them to benefit in their local communities as well. So all of these things are helping to sell something during delivery of the program as well as at the end. So being really careful not to wait until, you know, it's a very long program.
Yes.
You know, we're talking 20 years to actually deliver this thing. So you don't want people having to wait until the end to work out, did they do it? You want to be able to show some benefit along the line, along the delivery as well. So that's partly what we're doing.
Yeah. No, that makes a huge amount of sense. I mean, you want to be delivering benefits along, not least because it's a gauge of how successful you're being and whether you need to change at all. So that's really interesting. I really empathize with what you're saying, because I think those ideas that you expressed are things that, in their simplicity and in their kind of human language, we can all understand. Sometimes I think that the challenge is those in the treasury or accountants, when they start to try and apply measures to these things, it becomes so horrendously convoluted. But the idea of it being an engine for growth, I mean, people can, yeah, I understand that. That's 3 words, and I can immediately understand that. One of the challenges with all public projects, and I suppose this is partly the kind of political nature of public projects, is there's a tendency to kind of take a portmanteau approach and grab as many benefits as you possibly can. And this is understandable. You know, if I was a member of parliament somewhere along the route of HS2, I'd be saying, oh yeah, it needs to do this, it should do that, it should do everything else. How do you keep your feet on the ground, and how do you avoid the temptation to kind of overclaim and underdeliver?
Okay, that's a really good question, and it's one that I think we have been very, very careful to try and keep in mind all the way through this. So, you know, a lot of programs start with a benefits map the size of the Isle of Man. You know, it's got everybody's job on it, it's got everybody's wish list on it, and it's got everybody's view of what the program should and shouldn't do. We're no different. We started off with a very, very big benefits map. We then recognised that actually there is no way of demonstrating that, as you quite rightly say. And so we focused back down again. And again, we went back to the business case. We went back to the environmental statement in the legislation. We have got legislation, which is what gives us the powers to deliver the programme. So that's a very focusing part of it. And we've also got a cost and schedule baseline that the benefits baseline has to fit within. So we have to be able to deliver the benefits within the cost and schedule envelope. So those are very, very compelling grounding mechanisms, if you like.
Yes.
So all of our benefits are mapped to the strategic goals and objectives. And we use the strategic goals as the sort of grouping, the top level grouping mechanism, if you like. So we've got some benefits that are about as being a catalyst for growth. We've got some that are about the operational service and that capacity and connectivity. We've got some that are about, haven't even mentioned, health, safety and security, and some that are about environment and being a good neighbour. And each of those strategic goals then has a set 2 or 3 objectives, strategic objectives under it. And we have made sure that our benefit measures will demonstrate achievement of those goals and objectives. And so that has helped us shape and contain the scope of those benefits as well, because I'm very conscious working on other programs, exactly as you say, you just get this complete oozing of benefits all over the place. And actually attribution and credibility are phenomenally important on a program with the profile that HS2 has got.
Yes, yeah, and that brings me on to my next question, which was about this question of attribution and the whole credibility of the program, and how you capture those benefits and measure them realistically, and how do you make sure that you're not claiming benefits that somebody else from some other program is saying, "Oi, those are our benefits, nothing to do with HS2."
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, so measurement, I guess, is the starting point for that. The measure needs to be either a good direct measure or a good proxy that indicates whether or not the benefit has been realised or is being realised. So a really good direct measure would be the level of apprenticeships in the workforce. Yeah, if you're trying to demonstrate that you're creating apprenticeships and that you're giving opportunities, you need to count the apprentices and be sure that you're getting there.
Yes.
If you want to, but you can't always measure directly like that. Sometimes you have to use a proxy. So for the total workforce, we have a benefit about increasing the level of employment in the industries. Well, that's very hard to baseline and show and so on. So as a proxy for that, we look at how many UK businesses are winning contracts with HS2. And that's kind of a proxy for the spread of employment that is not just necessarily along the line of route or with half a dozen tier 1 contractors, but actually spreads through the economy, which in turn gives value to the UK taxpayer as well, but it's showing that sort of proxy idea. And we only count the people who are working on the programme. So we don't count all of the, if we've got a contractor who's working on lots and lots of different projects, we're only interested in the people who are actually working on the programme, not their entire workforce.
Yeah.
And then whatever you're measuring needs to be appropriate and meaningful to end users. So you've already talked about the way that Treasury and accountants want to convert everything into money and they monetize it. And that's absolutely as it should be for a business case and for appraisal purposes in the economic case. We monetize the journey times, we monetize the passenger time value, we monetize the crowding on the conventional network. We do all of this monetization. If we reported the benefits in that way, it would mean nothing to the users. Yes. So when we report the benefit that, albeit derived from the benefit cost ratio in the economic case, we report, have we achieved that 49-minute journey time?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's no point telling them how much that's worth to the UK economy. They want to know whether their train is going to get there when they thought it would. If we've said that we're going to increase the number of passenger services through a station, they're not interested in what the value to the UK economy is. They're interested in whether they've got more services going through that station.
Yes.
So we use the same assumptions as the economic case, but we use the forecast rather than the monetized value. And that keeps it grounded as well, because then we're showing what's the difference that this programme has made. I think you also need to be really clear about your baselines and your targets. Are you using a baseline or are you using a target? What kind of behaviours do you want to drive? You don't want people rushing out. You don't want your main contractors rushing out to engage small to medium enterprises because they've got a target to have a set number of SMEs in their supply chain. But it is appropriate for the programme to set itself a benchmark for that and to collect that data from the supply chain. So you kind of need to just think about what it is you're trying to demonstrate and what is the responsible way to do that, rather than just a box ticking exercise.
Yes, yes, yeah.
And then you need to think about how you're going to track those benefits that you can't measure until you've delivered the programme. So that journey times, you can't have any journey times till you've got some trains running.
Yes.
So we plan to report on the risks to realising that benefit and the decisions and milestones that need to be achieved to get us to that point. And provided we can show that the risks are being managed and alleviated where they need to be, and that the decisions and milestones are happening in the sequence they need to, with the right people involved and so on, we should achieve that benefit. So I suppose with credibility, the real challenges in a programme of this scale and public visibility is people are likely to think that we're just patting ourselves on the back for doing a good job well, and not necessarily having the full story. So in this programme, we are measuring our negative impacts, our adverse effects, as well as we are measuring our positive impacts. We have been really careful about how we have set our criteria for targets and benchmarks to make sure that we're clear about who we compare ourselves with if we're doing benchmarks, so that we've got recognisable similar programmes like the Olympics and Crossrail and so on, and industry analogues. So we're comparing ourselves to Network Rail on the rail industry, or we're comparing ourselves to other construction industry. And then what behaviours we want to drive around making sure that we are building a culture of transparency and openness, and not encouraging perverse box ticking behaviours. We've been really, really clear as well about whether or not the measures themselves and the benefits themselves are credible, and whether the attribution of them is credible. So as part of that, we have built into our assurance processes, both for the benefits register that we started with and for the measures that then came after, assurance with other government departments and external bodies who have a policy interest in us delivering a good programme. And I thought it was interesting that Cabinet Office were set a bit of a challenge for HS2 at the beginning, to say that they wanted us to demonstrate more cross-governmental working. So we have included MHCLG, DEFRA, DWP, BASE, and so on, in looking at the benefits and which ones they have a policy interest in, and whether they felt the data we were planning to collect and the use we were planning to put it to was credible in their field of expertise. So DEFRA and its agencies reviewed all of our environmental benefits, for example, and the measures, made proposed suggestions about where we might want to tweak them and so on. So it's really important to us that we maintain that credibility as well. And I think it is well worth doing as a programme, asking people outside the programme to look at what you're planning to do, to
Yes.
make sure that other professionals think that, yeah, okay, that sounds reasonable. I think the other thing is to just think about being proportional about what you measure when, and the level to which you disaggregate it. So, you know, you're going to measure every contractor or project on a specific thing, or are you just going to report it at programme or phase level? And yes. The key thing is not to build in so much burden that actually you're just not giving good value to anybody at all.
Yeah. If you're employing 500 people to manage the benefits on the programme, you're thinking, wow, yes. No, that's great, Bernadette, and really interesting to hear some of the ideas coming out there. I mean, I could hear you talking about, you know, immediate benefits, so the apprenticeships, the level of people employed, and then the benefits subsequent to delivery of the program, so what's going to happen afterwards, which was really interesting. And I also, listening to you talk about monetizing and the value, you know, I as a kind of humanities graduate, I might balk at the use of money as a language, but I actually recognise its value and in representing value. And I know that in other areas, for example, carbon capture, there's a real value to putting a financial value on carbon, because you can actually track it, and you can actually you can then measure it in the way that certain elements need it to be measured. So that's really interesting. If we kind of look at what might happen afterwards, and what you've learned, and what HS2 will have taught us about benefits, whether it's design or benefits management or benefits realization, is there, I won't limit you to one thing, but let's start with one thing. Is there one thing that you would say, actually, this is something that has come out of this program?
It's two things, I think.
Okay.
I think start early and make it easy for people.
Right.
Those are the two things, really. So start early. We've been reporting on benefits since Q2 of 2017. And that was the the year that the first early works contracts were awarded, and we built in data collection and reporting directly into their contracts, and we have built on that as the program matures. The really important thing there was that we're drawing all of the benefits reporting and measures draws on data we would already be collecting.
Yeah.
So we are not making up any new measures for the purposes of reporting on the benefits.
Yes.
If there is something in a contract about how we want them to deliver their skills, employment and education activity, we pull on the reporting that's already being asked for in there.
Yes.
If
yes.
there's something in there for safety, we pull on that safety reporting to tell the benefit story as well.
Yes. Yes.
And we hold them to account for their performance on that to try and improve that as the programme goes. So that also makes it easier, because actually then it's not something extra. It's just another lens to look at what they're doing anyway and what we expect of ourselves as a programme anyway.
Yes.
So, and then I think the other bit of making it simple is helping people to have those memorable hooks that they can use not only with other people but for themselves as well. So those strategic goals and the really short names for them are really important, because if everybody knows they're trying to enable HS2 to be a catalyst for growth, and that we're aiming for creating opportunities for jobs and skills and creating a fabulous customer experience, as you said yourself, they're very easy things to hook onto. And you've got your raison d'etre, you've got your guiding principle for why you're digging a hole where you're digging it, or whatever it is. It's all contributing to that grand endeavour sort of thing.
Yes.
So I think those are the things that I would, if you're drawing on what people are doing in their day jobs, the exec and senior leadership are there to deliver the business case on the programme. The benefits are the why for that. So it makes them easy to provide that leadership on it. And everybody lower down feels as if they're contributing as well. So I think they're really, really important things. And it's not a benefits team doing it in a dark corner on their own. It's part of everybody's job then.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. That was brilliant. I think that was almost exactly 20 minutes. So I haven't been timing exactly, but that was great, and a really good example of how benefits management works, and this mix of, like most of the bits of projects, this mix on the one hand of the scientific, or the apparently scientific and very mathematical based, with the kind of social science element of it, and behaviour, both in terms of trying to measure the behaviour of people involved in the project and people affected by the project, and then also trying to use the project to change behaviour, and trying to map all that. It's really, really great. So thank you so much for sharing all that.
That's okay. You're very welcome. You're very welcome.